Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Mayday Network. I'm Michelle Kinney. I'm here with Julie Roginski. This is the Daily Dispatch, in which we bring you stories and things we think that you should know about. And there's an never ending, rather, flow of nonsensical, I can't even talk, nonsensical nonsense that is just Stephen Miller being at the heart of a lot of this. And there is a cast of characters out of this White House that are cartoonishly evil. And I think that Stephen Miller is certainly at the helm of that, Julie. And I think that in a lot of ways, while Donald Trump is, rearranging his ballroom and making shiny statues outside the Lincoln Memorial, there are certain people running the government, and I think that Stephen Miller is one of them. And I think that's why it's so important that we highlight the things that he's talking about and discuss.
Yes. Hello, Michelle, from my Airbnb in Ithaca, New York, with my TV that I don't know how to turn off.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
I noticed that earlier when you were on with Olga. I was like, what was she watching? Was she watching baseball?
No, I have been not watching anything. It has been on, and I don't know how to turn it off. Anyway, yes, Stephen Miller is a asshole, as is his wife, Katie Miller,
Yep.
who I will disagree with Anthony Fauci about one thing that was in his diary. He called her tough and smart. She's not smart. She's a effing moron. If you watch her podcast, you will.
I think she's crafty.
She's crafty, like Stephen Miller's crafty. But I mean, like, she's crafty in the sense that, she clawed her way up to being in the inner sanctum of the Trump administration.
Yeah.
And God knows with what else with Elon Musk. But the reality is that this is not like some rocket scientist. And I want to talk about what happened with Dr. Fauci yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, like, these people have been fighting the last war for I don't know how long.
Yeah.
If you remember, Donald Trump gave Fauci, I believe, a medal on his way out the door in 2020. Mm-hmm. Operation Warp Speed was under Trump, which is the one thing we should give him credit for back in 2020. He was the one who decided to shut everything down in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, we are blaming Anthony Fauci, who has saved millions upon millions of lives going back to the 1980s with the AIDS crisis.
Yeah. You want to talk about how many millions of lives Anthony Fauci has saved and was the mastermind, at least one of the masterminds behind PEPFAR? I mean, like, come on.
Yeah. Yes. Which is why George Bush is such a fan of his and so on. But I do want to also just talk about what happened with the Millers, because it turns out that despite motherfucking Anthony Fauci nonstop over and over and over again, in the diary that Rand Paul decided to release from Anthony Fauci, which again, I just,
But she's subpoenaed.
I'm like, they're subpoenaing people's diaries now. So like, yeah. friends, I'm just going to say this, and I'm so sorry, because I know for so many people, writing things down in a journal or a diary is therapeutic and healthy, and this is how they process things, and especially it's a form of therapy. Therapy with them. Don't put anything in writing that you don't want subpoenaed by these guys, or don't put anything. I'm going to murder this dog. I just want people to understand. I don't really mean that. I love this dog, but she has been barking nonstop and peeing everywhere. So let me get this.
Fantastic. Well, Julie is doing that. Let's just kind of walk through this hypocrisy of Katie Miller and Stephen Miller and Katie Miller, but in this specific instance, Katie Miller. So this is from the New Republic. Fauci diaries expose depths of Katie and Stephen Miller's hypocrisy before Katie and Stephen Miller called for Dr. Fauci's imprisonment. They were actually on very friendly terms. So here's the reporting from Notice. It's wild, guys. So Fauci's diary entries are self-aggrandizing. It's so says Katie Miller. So says all of these Republicans who say that he's just obsessed with himself and wants to be a celebrity. My God, this man was front and center of the COVID pandemic. And like the one of the only adults in the room during the first Trump administration. Um, so obviously he's going to write about all the things that were happening to him in addition to the other things. And of course, these like ghouls are cherry picking. You know, if you want to feel angry and you want to have your blood pressure go up, definitely go watch the clips from the Senator Moreno and Josh Hawley and all these morons. But this is from Margaret Manto at Notice. This was published yesterday evening, right before 6 p.m. on the East Coast. This is from Katie Miller. The most disturbing part of Fauci's diary is what he decided to memorialize versus what he kept out of his diary, she wrote in a post on X on Monday. It's almost like he knew this diary would one day become public. He wanted to cast himself as the hero, as famous, as the savior. Katie Miller, who is married to Trump advisor and White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, has called for Fauci to be jailed. She derided Fauci's appearance in front of the Senate Wednesday, which is yesterday, questioning why he repeatedly invoked the Fifth Amendment. And she said he caused, quote unquote, decades of harm to children as a leader of the federal government's COVID-19 response. Since redacted excerpts from Fauci's diary indicate his relationship with Katie Miller was not always this way. In entries dated to 2020, Fauci's diary suggests he had a close relationship with Katie Miller, who was Vice President Mike Pence communications director at the time and heavily involved in the White House COVID-19 response. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, a longtime critic of Fauci's and psycho, published more than 1,000 pages of this man's diary. It's horrendous. So the HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. told Fox that he handed the entries over to the Senate Republicans after finding them on government servers. The whole thing is so egregious. But I'm going to go on here. It says that he wrote in his diary that he was providing medical advice to Katie and Stephen Miller. He wrote that he counseled the family after Katie Miller tested positive for COVID-19 while pregnant in 2020. If we remember, they were all parading all over the place, not wearing masks, talking about how, COVID's not real, this, that, and the other. When Stephen Miller tested positive and when their newborn child experienced a medical episode later that year. Quote, I am calling Katie frequently to check on her couple times per day. She is very anxious about getting very ill since she is 10 weeks pregnant. Tonight, she had an anxiety reaction. I calmed her over the phone. And that is an entry from May 9th of 2020. Before I go on, Julie, I mean, that is...
Look, she kept calling Fauci and she kept talking to Fauci about her medical issues because she had a doctor on speed dial and she claims he wasn't her doctor. But nevertheless, she kept bringing this up with this particular doctor.
Right. One of the best in the world.
You know what? I have had friends who are doctors. Mm-hmm. I have many good friends who are doctors, and I don't ask them for medical advice unless I want to hear what they have to say. Right? Like if I am, for instance, I had a client, Michelle, as you know, who is an OBGYN. He was this OBGYN was running for Congress.
Yep.
I got to be honest with you. He and I talked about a lot of issues with respect to his campaign for Congress and with respect to his political career. I never asked him for medical advice because I believe that if you're asking somebody for medical advice, you want to take their medical advice. And it's not that I don't want to take this guy's medical advice. I just happen to have my own doctor to ask, right? So the point is, she's asking this guy for medical advice because she wants to hear it, not because they're just chit-chatting. Right? Like I chit-chat with people at work all the time who are doctors, but not in their capacity as a doctor. If you're asking them for medical advice for yourself, for your unborn child, for your child who's now born and you has a medical episode, you got to understand what this is about. You're obviously interested in what he has to say. And, there's so much wrong with this. First of all, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. found his diary on government servers and decides to send this over to the Senate after the Senate subpoenas it, of course, tipping the Senate off to subpoena it.
Of course.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s ex-wife had a diary wherein she accused him of leading to suicide, basically causing her suicide. She basically wrote down that if it weren't for the fact that he was having all of these affairs with women, she would not have had the nervous breakdown that she did that effectively led to her suicide. Right? Like, of all the people on the fucking planet who should be sympathetic about not exposing people's diaries, it should be.
Oh, but he's a
psycho. Cheryl Hines, fuck you. Yep. Like, I've given you
all day, every day.
Like all day, every day, for not speaking out about this shit.
Because this is a garbage person.
This has gone way too far. This is not like, oh, my husband, I have nothing to do with politics. Fuck you. Your husband's a monster. Nope. Your husband's a monster. Yeah. Sorry, he just is. So that's one. That's one. Two, I cannot wait for the fucking day, friends. I cannot wait for the day, because Anthony Fauci was pardoned by Joe Biden, and yet he still took the fifth, which means that if Stephen Miller and Katie Miller get pardoned by Donald Trump, their ass better still be hauled before the Senate for all of the shit that they're responsible for. And you watch them take the fifth. You watch them take the fifth. Oh, yeah. And you watch somebody, it'll be me, say, God, you know, they shouldn't be taking the fifth. But what she said, right? Like, why is he taking the fifth? Fuck you. Fuck you. Sorry, Dad. Sorry, Mr. Kinney. Sorry, everybody's dad is listening. But I'm so angry about this. I cannot begin to tell you. I cannot begin to tell you. Every part of this is disgusting. Why is he taking the fifth? Why is every asshole who you're friends with, who had everything to do with Jeffrey Epstein, why are they taking the fifth? And this guy did nothing wrong. He just didn't want to be indicted on contempt of Congress, whatever the fuck they were setting him up to be. And these are the most garbage people. These are people who are not even, like, I don't understand how you wake up in the morning after asking a guy for medical advice for your baby, for yourself, for your husband, after spending day after day talking to him about how you jointly work together to stop the spread of the worst pandemic that has hit this country in 100 years. And after all of that, you feel compelled to weigh in when nobody's asking you to weigh in. You raised your hand to weigh in and to say, yes, you know what? This guy sucks.
It's hypocrisy is like not a dark enough word. I don't have the vocabulary to properly or accurately describe these people or the situation. I mean, the fact that they're trying to rewrite history over that entire period of time anyways is wild. Because I think, as we all know, had COVID not happened, Donald Trump probably would have been reelected. But, you know, as we sat here in our apartments in New York City, where 1,000 people were dying here a day, and we were lost, and we had no leadership, we had no guidance. And this is, again, where I invite people to please, 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 please go find the documentary. It's called Totally Under Control. It was directed by Alex Gibney, who is an incredible documentary filmmaker, and he made it in secret in 2020, behind the scenes, detailing what was going on in the COVID response. Let me tell you also that, you know, I had a friend who was working at the CDC at the time. And this friend of mine worked in a different area, but obviously during a pandemic, everybody kind of gets brought under, you know, whatever the emergency is at the time. And this friend of mine was, as many of her colleagues were, and I think people think about the CDC as this kind of like huge organization. While yes, it does have a lot of responsibility and a lot of power, it is not a lot of people who work there, right? And so a lot of these people were treated for PTSD, for extreme depression, because the CDC went to the White House very early on and told them what was coming and gave them a communications plan in order to communicate the dangers to the American people and a response plan. And Kellyanne Conway was probably pretty much like, mm, I don't really like the cool, thanks, but we're going to do our own thing. And for that reason, 1 million Americans died because these people refused to wear masks. They refused to, socially distance. They refused to be part of the solution because they made the entire thing political. It is disgusting. Meanwhile, Anthony Fauci, who is an infectious disease expert and has been working in this field for decades, is the only adult in the room. The adult in the room. And what they have done to this man, he is 85 years old.
Lest we forget, by the way, Michelle, these are the same people, Jared Kushner, who didn't want to send supplies to blue states.
Yep.
And let me say, and I've told this story before, but I'm going to tell it again for people who did not hear. I got COVID very early. I got COVID in March of 2020, probably from somebody coughing on me on the subway, right? Because I live in New York City. I was so sick that it took me 3 days to, and Michelle knows where I live, to effectively cross the street to an emergency, like the outpatient clinic places, right? And I showed up there, and I mean, I walked there like I was 100 years old. Like I could barely walk. This is a walk that would normally take about 2 minutes. It took me about 15. I show up there, and the doctor says to me, I said, can I please have a COVID test? And he said, how old are you?
Yeah.
And this was what? That was
6 years ago.
6 years ago, right? So what was I 6 years ago? Anyway, I was in my late 40s. I told him how old I was. And he said to me, do you have any underlying conditions, any pre-existing conditions? And I said, I don't. And he said, go home. I'm not going to give you a COVID test. I'm not going to waste one on you because we only have a very limited amount of these tests. And you probably have COVID. Just act like you do, because it's obvious to me that you do, but I'm not going to waste a test on you. And I'm going to warn you, do not go to the emergency room unless you truly think you are dying. And I mean literally dying, not the way you feel now, but I mean you truly think you need a ventilator and you can't breathe. Because if you go to the emergency room, you will probably die. Friends, in the richest city, in the richest country, in the history of the world, this is the medical advice I was given.
Yep.
These garbage people were working in this administration at the time to deny people like me tests.
Yep.
To deny people like me care. Eventually, I recovered. It took me about 2 weeks. And because I was lucky, right? I didn't get long COVID. I lost my sense of taste and smell. If luckily came back. But because I'd gotten COVID so early, they wanted my titers, right? So I had to go. So they asked if I would be part of a study. I said, sure. So I had to, every couple, I forgot how often, but every so often, I'd have to cross Central Park and I'd have to walk up to Mount Sinai, which is about, I don't even know, like maybe 1.5 miles, 2 miles from me, right? But all through Central Park. And I would walk through Central Park and I would see a mobile hospital with tents, a field hospital, like we were at war, set up in the crown jewel, the most visited tourist destination in the richest city, in the richest country in the history of the world. Like we were on a front with Florence Nightingale in the Crimean War in the 19th century, in a field hospital, outside. I have pictures of this field hospital.
Yeah.
And I have to be honest with you, I've never recovered from that mentally, because I cannot believe this is where we were as the United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're going to tell if our children, if the world survives, like, we will not, my children, because my son remembers this, but he will be telling his children one day
Yep.
about this, and people are going to be like, oh my God, back in the olden days. It's not the olden days.
No.
It's not the olden days.
Mm-hmm.
And for these people, the ones who denied care to all of us.
Yep. While giving tests to Vladimir
While getting
Putin.
tested every day.
And sending supplies to Putin.
Yes, that's right. Remember how we send supplies to Russia? Thank you for that memory. For them to have the nerve to gaslight us about how bad things were. Like,
how dare you?
Do we not remember? Do you not think we remember?
How dare you? How dare you?
Dare you? As a New Yorker, Katie Miller?
How dare you?
Fuck you. How dare you? You don't think I remember seeing that field hospital? You don't think I remember being told by a doctor to go home and not to go to a hospital under any circumstances, because I would probably die there, because a doctor could not spare a test kit for me?
And this is what they told everybody. They were like,
get an oximeter. The people who died, I have a friend whose father, I don't know if he still holds the record, ultimately died from COVID. He was the longest hospitalized person. The New York Times did a front page story on him when he finally died. The longest hospitalized person because of COVID. Never recovered. Was on a ventilator longer than, I think a year and a half. I don't even know how long. It was basically like Terry Schiavo.
Long time. Yeah.
Horrible situation because of these people. Because of these people. Do you not think we remember this? You complete and utter garbage people.
I will be traumatized for the rest of my life about what happened here. And the rest of the country dealt with COVID. New York City went through something else. And, when I was at Lincoln Project, right, we put up that billboard in the middle of Times Square, quoting them, basically, let the people in the blue states die. I was there when we unveiled it, by the way. I was there with the people doing it. And I almost broke down in tears, just seeing it, being reminded, standing in the middle of my city where I had 2 masks on. Do you know what I mean? It's just, and our dermatologist, I don't know if you know this, Julie, she worked at Elmhurst Hospital.
I didn't know that.
At the time. And Elmhurst was ground zero, which is in Queens. And that's where the majority of a lot of the, where the I think it was the beginning of the morgue trucks that were parked in the street. I just remember the sirens 24/7. I live near a hospital. I remember seeing we were banging our pots and pans every night at 7, but all of these healthcare workers were having to wear garbage bags
and died.
To reuse
some of them
masks.
died.
Some of them died. And Jared Kushner was literally just holding a meeting about a meeting about a meeting in a conference room, talking about maybe doing things. The whole supply chain thing was such a joke. This is again where they break it down in this documentary, and they talk to people who were in the room, and they were like, these people didn't give a shit, and also they were incompetent. They had no idea what to do. They didn't know how to fix the problem. They didn't care, and well, they didn't vote for us, so.
Well, and you know what? Melissa Brzezinski on Substack said, I'm going to read what she wrote. I worked at a grocery store the entire pandemic, and people were idiots. They come in without masks.
Yep.
Customers were getting fights with each other about that. It was horrible. Let me just say this, because I remember this so well. My husband's a lawyer, so somehow lawyers got an exclusion. They were able to go back to work right away. And after spending 2 weeks watching me homeschool my son, he was like, I'm out of here. So, but for those 2 weeks that he actually had to stay home, he and I would walk to the grocery store. And again, I could barely walk at that point, but he and I would go to the grocery store together, and we would, we weren't sure how much food, we kept, stockpiling, because we didn't know. We lived, Manhattan's on an island. We didn't know how much.
Yeah.
And I would see these people working, and this is New York. I can't speak for the rest of the country, but New York, it's mostly people of color who are working in supermarkets and grocery stores and bodegas for sure.
And the multi-generational households, really. Yeah. It was, really bad.
And you know, these people were not living in my part of Manhattan where they could just get up, roll out of bed, and go to work. They had to get on the subway.
Yep. Yep.
Or the bus.
Yep.
And get there, putting themselves at risk there. They had to deal with people, you know, who are customers, and get sick there. I mean, the heroic, and we talk about the first responders and the doctors and the nurses, but the heroic people who went to work to keep our city running, and to keep our lives and keep us fed. I mean, I'm talking about people who literally sold us food.
Yeah.
And yet, how in the world, friends, how in the world did we go back to vote for these same people to bring them back? That's right. The bus drivers, thank you. The bus drivers.
This is why I'm saying I'll never get over it. There have been so many, not so many, but like a handful of inflection points, at least for me, in terms of how I view humanity. And the first Trump election in 2016 was one, and then COVID was another. And just watching how much people just did not give a shit about anybody or anything. And then 2024 being another one. I'm just like, oh my God. Oh my God. I didn't think so many people were so void of humanity. And unfortunately, we live in a time and a culture in which we're all very like individualistic and self-centered, and a distrust of institutions has been sowed kind of within our country as well, right? Through the algorithm and through leadership and anything else. And there has been this whole conspiratorial mindset about big pharma and wellness, and all of this. I mean, I don't need a vaccine. I have a this, or I'm going to eat clean food. To quote Neil deGrasse Tyson,
and drink raw milk.
How's that well, right, and to well, paraphrase really, maybe not a direct quote from Neil deGrasse Tyson, but he's like, let's talk about how many, centuries and decades we had clean air and clean water and great organic food, and yet the life expectancy of human beings was only like 35 at best. It wasn't until we had modern medicine, antibiotics, vaccines, antiviral, that the life expectancy was into the 60s and 70s and 80s. Only recently has that happened. Yet all these people somehow think that they're hoodwinking, scientists by thinking, no, wellness. And this is where I'm like, guys, the amount of money that goes in and out of the wellness industry dwarfs big pharma. Big pharma does like a fraction of the amount of money that is to be made in wellness. And so what do? They tell you not to get vaccinated. They tell you not to, take that medicine or whatever, but drink their raw milk and take their supplements and buy their oils and rub them all over your body. People like RFK Jr., who, by the way, are invested in these companies that sell people basically snake oil. And so, thinking it's always about the money. Always about the money. And so, for these people like having, which, Joe and I talk about this all the time. They're like, it would have been so easy for Donald Trump to just even pretend to be a leader in that moment, especially with Operation Warp Speed, which, by the way, was a success for the vaccine. But he refuses to take any credit for it. He won't talk about it. I mean, the whole thing is just crazy. And so, like, to bring it back to these absolute ghouls who were sitting around the White House, breathing on each other, not wearing masks, not giving a shit. And by the way, sources have told me that Mike Pence definitely was sick at his debate, but that's neither here nor there. But that's what I have been told by sources close to the situation. And you look at somebody like Katie Miller, who has spent a lot of time getting clicks, riling people up, throwing gasoline on a smoldering fire in order to tear down this man who has not only been, a savior to people with infectious disease, but also a public servant to this country, and who was helping her. And apparently Notice here had asked her about all of this, and she was like, "Please don't talk about my medical care with kids and blah blah blah." She gets
Really?
privacy. Yeah, she gets the privacy. She gets
Oh,
the
really?
privacy.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
really?
Yep.
Hey, by the way, I'm not big into HIPAA violations, but if I ever got
Mm-hmm.
a hold of her records, I would release them all. It's 30 seconds because I guarantee you they were the first in line to get that vaccine.
Oh,
First
a
in line.
100%. Of
First in
course.
line.
Of course. Of course. And so it says here that the Notice, who is the did the report here analysis comparing the originally posted document and the document available Wednesday afternoon show many of the redactions, including sections of the diary recounting Fauci's interactions with the Millers. The original document mentioned Katie Miller 56 times, while the redacted document mentioned her only 37 times. She requested that they not disclose the details of her child's medical history and said Paul's office published them without her knowledge or permission. Paul's office did not respond to requests for comment. She said that while she and Fauci were in regular contact during the initial COVID-19 response and would occasionally discuss non work matters, her opinion of him at the time was that he was, quote, incredibly self centered and sought to promote himself above the good of the people. Oh my God. Quote.
Okay. You know what?
Yeah.
Let's give her every benefit of the doubt here. Let's say all of that is true. Let's
Yes.
say he is the biggest self promoter in the world, the most arrogant guy in the world, has a God complex like almost every other doctor I know. Let's say that, sorry, doctors, but it's true. Let's say that all of that is true. So the fuck what? So what?
I know. Look around you.
I'm
Like,
sorry,
truly.
because everybody you hang out with, including you, Katie Miller, are so self-effacing
Oh my God.
and
Just
so
like
humble.
malignant narcissists, all of them.
Like Donald Trump is so humble. This
Right.
guy basically saved millions of people. Not basically, he did save millions of people from death. Millions. If you don't believe that
Millions.
with COVID, look at AIDS. Look at AIDS.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Maybe
And
maybe he's got a little something to brag about. What have
mhm.
you done? What has Donald Trump done? Oh, I forgot his personal Vietnam was not getting an STD
Oh,
in
right,
the
right.
1980s.
What a brave
Yeah,
man.
what a brave man.
Wow.
That's why he
Selfless.
gets, yes, that's why he gets to be arrogant,
Yeah.
because his personal Vietnam was not getting syphilis or gonorrhea, whatever the
Yep.
hell it was, trying not to get, for
Yeah, the
AIDS for that
classic.
matter. By the way, when he was banging everybody in New York, according to him, AIDS was
Yeah,
flourishing in
listen,
New York
AIDS
City.
was around before everybody knew about it. Like, you know what
But
I
my point is
mean?
not even that. When Donald Trump was, having sex with all these very, 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 very young, but I'm going to say overage because I have no evidence to otherwise, models, when he was broken up with his first wife, dating his second soon-to-be wife, but cheating on her as well.
Mm-hmm.
AIDS was really exploding in New York City where that was all happening. So congratulations, Donald Trump. Thanks to Anthony Fauci, you probably didn't die of AIDS then.
Yep. And here it says Katie Miller said she purposely gave Fauci the impression that she was friendly with him so that he, quote, did not leak against me or my
Leak
husband,
what?
end
Leak
quote.
what? Leak what?
Like what? I don't
Leak
know.
what?
Quote, I understood who he was, and I understood how to manage somebody like him, she said. She pointed out to a passage in Fauci's diaries where he describes agreeing with Stephen Miller on the need for border restrictions to prevent the spread of COVID-19, which, yes, because different countries have different responses, and you want to take care of your people in an emergency situation.
Wait. Let me just stop there. She was worried that Fauci was going to leak that he agreed with Stephen Miller. Like, wouldn't that be
Good
really
for him.
helpful? Wouldn't that be really helpful to Stephen Miller that somebody of
Right.
Fauci's stature
But
would
that would
want to border
apparently would
closed?
give up his position that like COVID wasn't such a big deal. Like these people twist themselves into pretzels to try to it is completely wild to watch, and depending on who is reporting on any story, it could be any version of this of the truth. Like it's absolutely wild. And it says here, quote, how did Stephen Miller manage to get Dr. Fauci there? End quote, she asked rhetorically. Quote, it's understanding how to communicate with somebody who wants to put themselves above others. In recent years, Katie Miller served as the media representative for Kennedy. during the presidential transition and as an aide to Elon Musk's Doge initiative. Since leaving the administration, she has hosted Kennedy on her podcast. She's talked about not vaccinating her youngest child. Oh my God.
Fantastic.
Great.
You know what? Fantastic, Katie Miller.
Yep.
When your son gets, or daughter, I don't know who she had, gets the measles, which are rampant right now, I feel very sorry for that child because, of course, he or she doesn't have agency over what happens to him or her. You should be in prison.
Yep.
But truly, you should be in prison for
I
child
think all
endangerment.
people, yeah. I mean, the
child
anti-vax crowd, I have absolutely zero patience for.
As a mother, you should be in prison. You know why? Because not just your child.
It's babies up until a year old cannot
babies
even
under
get
year
vaccinated.
old. So if you have that kid in any kind of daycare, and I don't know if you do, but let's assume that you do, you're putting those kids in danger. So congratulations to you for being a fucking monster, Katie Miller, towards your own child and to other people's children. I swear to God, because I had to put my son in daycare when he was about a year old. If I knew for one moment that there was one kid in that daycare that was not vaccinated against,
I'd lose my mind. I would lose my mind.
That would be, I'd lose my mind. I would lose. I mean,
measles can kill your kid years later. That's the thing. It can kill they can recover and have, permanent damage in their organs, specifically their brains.
And again, like, why is this controversial? I'm going to bring up he who shall not be named because he may or may not be alive. But you have Mitch McConnell who had
Mr. Polio.
Polio as a child. And because he had polio as a child 80 years ago, however the hell old he was when he had polio, apparently, by his own admission, if in fact he is still alive and is actually writing his own stuff, but according to either him, his wife, his staff, whoever's putting the stuff out there, ChatGPT, I don't know who's writing his stuff, the reason he's in worse shape now than he otherwise would have been is because he had polio as a child, so it's harder for him to recover. 80 years later. And nobody's connecting the dots here in MAGA world. Wait a second. We actually still have people who have polio.
Yeah. All this stuff's going to make a comeback because these people are so stupid.
And selfish.
Selfish, know-it-alls, think that they somehow have figured it all out and that they know it. It's honestly a level of distrust that, there's a lot of authoritarian tendencies, but to kill ourselves by stupidity. I know you were saying earlier today on your show with Olga, just like we're living in a dumb time, and you compared this time that we're living in to like the lead up of World War I. And I remember when COVID, I remember that February, I saw it coming. And I was like, I need to watch everything. I need to learn all about pandemics. And I watched an older documentary with survivors of the 1918 pandemic. And I remember listening to these people who were then very elderly when this was filmed. They were just kids when it happened, and them saying how traumatized they were from the time because they felt like they would never, any semblance of safety you ever had in your life was gone forever. Because you realized that you had no control over anything. And Woodrow Wilson at the time was ignoring all warnings.
Well, he was
trying to talk about it until he himself got it. It scrambled his brains when he was, was over in Europe signing the treaties and whatnot. He almost didn't show up because he was so sick. But it's these people are shameless. You cannot shame them.
Listen, I don't know how many people watching this right now had kids who were young when COVID was going on, but I had a second grader at the time. He's lived, this guy who was my son. This guy who I know, happen to know.
This tiny human living in my house.
Yeah. This tiny human who I gave birth to. I mean, they have been through, in his short time on Earth, in his 14 years on Earth, wars, multiple wars, a pandemic, horrible fears of anti-Semitic attacks, walking down the streets of New York, and don't anybody tell me that that's all in our heads. Somebody in our
They will. They will.
Somebody in our neighborhood got stabbed last week.
2 people.
2 people. One leaving a synagogue. I'm talking about anti-Semitic.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So please don't. And Michelle knows where that is in relation to.
Well, then there was a hammer attack like the next day at like a children's day school.
At a Jewish children's school. My elementary school in New York City is consistently getting protested. It is a Jewish elementary school. So
I invite anybody, by the way, who's not Jewish to go visit a synagogue and prepare yourself for airport level security to enter a place of worship, because that is what it's like.
Yep. And then meanwhile, I go to church with my husband all the time, and I
just walk in.
Walk on in. So you tell me. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is, like, he has lived through a lot. And I would say most of it, if not all of it, is thanks to Donald Trump.
I think about this all the time, these kids. For the last 10 years, and obviously we've been exposed to Donald Trump for decades, but in a pop culture sort of way. At the forefront of American politics has been Donald Trump, who has given a green light to the cruelest, meanest, most violent people in this country to rise up against their government and try to overthrow elections, to be mean to each other, to be racist, to be anti-Semitic, to be Islamophobic, to be, homophobic, to be horrible to women, to grab women by the you-know-whats. Like, it's been and to be a child. I mean, when I was your kid's age, Bill Clinton was president, and mind you, the bad stuff didn't happen until I was well into my teenage years. I would think I was like 16 when all that happened. But, he was elected when I was 10. I know, sorry. I don't mean to make you feel bad. But, like, I remember voting for Michael Dukakis.
I voted for him.
Well, I remember voting for Michael Dukakis in my first grade mock election. But, like, I guess my point being is, like, however anybody feels about it, it was like there was a level of decency with these people that you could trust the institutions, at least to function, to exist, to be funded, to have the best interests of the American people, at heart. But that is not the case anymore. And to grow up in this environment, to not know anything else. We had Mallory McMorrow on the show a number of months ago, who had dropped out,
what could have been.
What could have been. And I said to her, because she and I are the same age, we're both elder millennials, and I was like, doesn't it make you sad that these kids will never know? They'll never know what it was like to come of age with Barack Obama as your president. They'll never know.
Do you know how racist these kids are?
Oh, yes.
Like, in liberal New York City, how racist these. Mercifully, not my son.
I've heard some of it.
He knows better. But how racist they are. And I sat with somebody at my son's school, an administrator, and I said, I have a real problem here, and I'm a white woman, but I have a real problem here with some of the racism that I apparently goes on here, not towards my son, but and I said it should not be me that was saying this, but I was a scholarship kid, but I went to a pretty exclusive private school back in the 80s, and I didn't hear that. That never happened.
Oh my God, we would have been expelled.
Expelled immediately. And I have to say, because it was not, people might have thought it. I assume people still think
I'm sure and said it at home or whatever, but you knew the difference.
But you knew the difference. You could not say it out loud. Hey, Shalana, I know she's still on the ballot, but please don't waste your vote voting for Mallory. Please, I beg you with all that is holy. Please, I don't care how you feel about AIPAC. Vote for Haley Stevens, because she is the one.
If you want to win that seat.
If you want to win that seat, vote for Haley Stevens. I don't have much love for her.
Yeah. I don't really.
She's not my cup of tea.
Yeah. She's a little corny, but
her opponent's really not my cup of tea. But it doesn't matter if her opponent would be in a better position, I'll say, to win that seat. I would say vote for him, but he is not, according to every general election poll I've seen. He is getting his ass handed, and
by double digits.
By double digits. I beg you, if you want to win the Senate and stop this nonsense, please vote for the more electable person. So do not waste your vote. Anybody from Michigan, do not waste your vote on Mallory McMorrow, please. I'm begging you, do not do that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's a swing. It's not like it's New York or a place where it's a done deal. You know what I mean? You can't. There's no such thing as like a protest vote in primaries like this, because the whole weight of the world really is dependent upon it. And while we talk about racism, which is going to get to the second part of this, is Stephen Miller, Katie Miller's husband.
I'm sorry, can I interrupt? Hey, Barbara. Yeah, I guess Israel comes to her in her dreams. Who gives a shit? Don't you want to win the seat? I don't give a shit if Osama bin Laden comes to her in her dreams at the moment. I just want her to win. I just want that seat to be won. Okay. By the way, I personally don't mind if Israel comes to her in her dreams. I think you're confusing Israel with Benjamin Netanyahu, but that's a whole different story. You want to win. You want to keep that seat.
There's like an obsession.
Yeah. So stop with Israel, because I promise you, find me a poll of regular voters who are not terminally online. Israel's not even in their top 5.
No.
It's not even in the top 10.
No.
So please just cut the nonsense. You also have Hassan Piker going out there today.
And his uncle from the Young Turks saying that they no longer, or I don't know if they ever did, support Ukraine and the war against Russia. After there was a full-scale my mind is exploding. But I shouldn't be surprised after Chevalier, who's about to be my next congresswoman, has been pretty vocal about the fact that she thinks that Ukraine had it coming. So, these entire communities and cities of little girls and women and, being raped and tortured in the basements of homes. Like I just,
If Israel's not your cup of tea, okay. Ukraine comes to me in my dreams, because that is most black and white. There's no shades of gray. There's no shades of gray here. The Russians are committing a genocide in Ukraine, and if you care about the genocide that you say you care about in Gaza, then why don't you care about the genocide happening in Ukraine? Could it be because no Jews, no news? That's what I think.
Well, and this isn't why we, necessarily came on today to talk about, but, Hiker's big thing he's talking about, well, they struck an Iranian ship in the Caspian Sea. Yeah. Do you want to know why? Because Iran has been supplying Russia with drones and munitions and all kinds of resources to continue this war against the Ukrainian people and the genocide against the Ukrainians. That is why they struck that ship. That is why. Not to mention, Russia has been also, and this isn't why, but like Russia has also been supplying Iran with intelligence in order to kill American service members. So please spare me. The Iranian people, my heart breaks for them every single day. They're being executed in historic numbers in the street publicly. I mean, there's so much bad here. I don't even know where to begin. But like the fact that Hassan Piker and his uncle are out here talking about, Ukraine, they're done for me. Please, all the way off. Yeah. There is nothing else here. There's nothing else to see here.
And if you campaign with him, you have some questions to answer.
You are the company you keep, my friends. You are the company you keep. And that being said, with the racism and all of that, and the extremism and the totalitarianism of Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller, a number of days ago, gave this speech at this thing that the State Department held for I think there was about 67 countries there. And talking about this new political terrorism or something, like it just all kind of seems silly to me. But this is what Stephen Miller had to say.
Subjugate, to oppress, and to inflict pain and suffering. It's not a coincidence that when you look at these violent Antifa demonstrations, you see any photograph of those who were assembled. To be blunt, not one of the people that is demonstrating looks like a normal person. Not one looks normal. They're all deformed in some way, in their appearance, in their dress, in their mannerism. Why is that? Why, if you look at two photographs and you see a normal American street, you see an Antifa protest, why do the people that are violently demonstrating, why is there not one normal-looking person among them? Every one of them, through the course of their life and their decisions, has scarred their body and their appearance in many different ways, to the point in which their outer appearance becomes a manifestation of their inner hatred. Trust your instincts. To all people and across all civilizations, you know what normal is. You know what beautiful is. You know what good is. You know that families are right. You know.
You go first.
Well, I don't like to comment on anybody's looks.
Oh, I'm gonna.
However, my man, have you ever held a mirror up to yourself, or you're like a vampire? Oof. You can't hold a mirror up to yourself? Do you think you're the manifestation of like stunning aesthetics there? What is he getting at?
Well, I think we know.
No, but like they scar themselves. What, like they have?
I don't really know. I don't understand what
they have. They have tattoos because. I
don't really understand. Yeah, I was like, I didn't really understand what that meant, but
that
we know.
Is it plastic surgery? Because have you been down to Mar-a-Lago, my friend?
Right. I'm like, have you seen these women?
I mean,
but it's. Listen, this is very serious, and they were talking about this on the Bulwark the other day as well. Sam Stein, I believe it was, it was JVL. Doesn't matter. We're talking about this with their guests, saying that this is complete and utter totalitarian language. This is to hear this out of an American who holds a position in the White House behind the podium of the State Department should send a chill through the body of every American and every person around the world who cares about democracy, because this is eugenicist talking, which is, again, wild, coming out of the mouth of a man who looks like that and sounds like that.
And whose family fled their shtetl in the Russian Empire because they were Jews and thought that they were going to get killed in a pogrom. And lo and behold, the family that didn't flee the shtetl all died in the Holocaust. Mm-hmm. So I ask you, Stephen Miller, who the hell do you think you are? Where do you think you come from? What do you think you look like? And I cannot wait because it's going to happen for one of your kids to come out as gay or trans or non-binary or have tattoos on his or her body. The one that's not going to be harmed by the measles, epidemic, because that poor kid.
And to that child, if that does happen, I hope understands that there's a whole world with open arms that would welcome them into
arms.
But to be born into a family of hateful people who have absolutely no ability for acceptance or anything, for him to be up there talking about beauty and love. We know love is. First of all, this young man from Santa Monica, who's from a well-to-do family, whose dad was doing very well, and I know I think he lost a contract or there's something going on with some Santa Monica pier, so they had to move because they didn't have as much money anymore, and so they had to move to a neighborhood that had more people of color, and they probably lost some of the help in their house or whatever else. And I always wonder at what point it was in Stephen Miller's life that he became the monster that he is, and was it in that moment? Because by high school he was making speeches about janitors are there and torture. There's a video of him in the back of a school bus talking about how we should be torturing people. At some point, something happened to this, because I do think that some people are born with the maybe more ability to be hateful, but something snapped inside this young man. And I say young man, he's 40 and looks like that. But he also speaks like a Valley girl, and he has this weird tick, and he does it like this. I don't know if you've noticed this. Here's another video. This is just of him the other night with Laura Ingraham.
Laura, their own countries. They cannot enrich Haiti. They cannot enrich Somalia. They cannot enrich the failed states in Latin America or in Africa or in parts of the Middle East. Somehow, these migrants are not able to make any of their own countries work. And we're told, in fact, their own countries are so unsafe, they cannot live there. But no one can ever explain why their countries are failed, why they're so supposedly or actually unsafe, why it is that it doesn't work. Laura, if you allow unlimited migration from the third world to the United States, all that happens is you turn America into the same third world country from which these migrants came.
Now, Stephen, I want to move on to the news.
Okay, listen.
Yeah.
I wrote a column about this guy a long time ago, and for some reason, maybe not for some reason, I guess a lot of people hate this guy. It was like one of the most popular things I ever wrote. And I'm going to read from this just to put this in perspective. There are men who are dangerous because they're competent, and then there are men who are dangerous because they are pathetic. Stephen Miller belongs squarely in the latter category. A man so nakedly insecure, so chronically aggrieved, that the only way he can experience importance is by borrowing the force of the state and pointing it at the people who can't hit back. That is what he is. He is the hall monitor who finally found a gun.
It's the tech bros. It's the same thing. These losers end up with a little bit of power and they become monsters.
He is the political equivalent of the kid in the cafeteria who got picked last for dodgeball. Now, to anybody here who got picked last for dodgeball too, I'm sorry. I don't mean to insult you, but hopefully you are not the guy or the woman who stood.
Hopefully it built character for you.
Yes.
And not this way.
Hopefully you weren't the person who stood at the edge of the playground and shouted insults at anyone having fun, which is what he does. And now, decades later, hopefully you don't use the full force of the federal government to try to harm a country because you think your classmates ignored your genius in high school. That is who Stephen Miller is. Okay? That is who he is. And he's not terrorizing America because he's competent. He's terrorizing it because he's always felt like nothing. And cruelty is the only way he ever learned to feel like something.
Yeah. I can be powerful if I'm cruel. I'm more powerful if I'm cruel. And you know, I just want to remind people too, this is from 2017 from the Washington Post. Remember when he did an interview straight to cameras. I think he had a little bit more hair then. He said that Trump's national security actions will not be questioned. He's been talking like a crazy person for many years. You know, this first paragraph here, there was The Atlantic did an article about how he is to be as a boss. He runs his daily 10 a.m. conference calls, yes, even on Saturdays, less like a government advisor and more like a wartime general. He is the dominant voice as he plays the role of browbeater, inquisitor, and bully. He accepts no excuses, entertains no dissent. He is, again, another example of theater kids. He is very performative. There's something very performative. And I say this as a theater kid, as a former theater kid. This is the kind of person who I think desperately wanted to be doing poetry slams or something, and it like wasn't cool. And so now he's doing this instead because this over the top hyperbolic language that he uses, that he writes into Donald Trump speeches, like, come on, like he's so over the top. I mean, listen to this. This was May of last year talking about indoctrinating children in this country as well.
Be taught to love America. Children will be taught to be patriots. Children will be taught civic values for schools that want federal taxpayer funding. So as we close the Department of Education and we provide funding to states, we are going to make sure that these funds are not being used to promote communist ideology. For any nation to be successful, it cannot teach its children to hate themselves and to hate their country. So these are a few of the areas in which President Trump has fought the cancerous communist woke culture that was destroying this country, where we were led to believe that men were women, that women were men, that racial discrimination was good, that merit was bad, and that safety and physical security mattered less than the feelings of liberal ideologues.
I can't even listen to him
Is
anymore.
it woman or women? You
I don't know, but I do want to say, like, on
women,
like
plural.
trying to psychoanalyze this man. I want to play 2 clips here,
Oh,
both of
we have
Hunter
to keep listening
Biden.
to him? Okay, Hunter Biden.
No,
Okay.
it's not him. It's not him speaking.
Okay.
It's this someone speaking about him. So no, I'm not going to play any more Stephen Miller clips. So everybody can like settle on down, grab a beer. The first one is when he did the Channel 5 interview a number of months ago. Hunter Biden. It really just Hunter Biden. Yeah.
I don't know any personally that if you took Stephen Miller, isolated, and you played a clip of the things that he says.
Every day we arrest another alien they let into this country who raped a child, who beat a woman.
Quote, all the kinky-haired, swarthy-skinned, long-despised phantoms, all the teeming ants toiling for the white man's comfort.
And his little physical demeanor and not be able to say, there's something fucked up about that motherfucker. However, how do you identify and change the mind of someone who is so ignorant that they cannot discern between a fact and an outright lie?
So, and then I'm going to play the next thing because he was on Don Lemon's show the other day and he mentioned Stephen Miller's name here as well. Now, Hunter Biden, I think, is the kind of person who is
no fucks left to give.
0. And he's speaking from experience and having lived in DC. Like, he's not, you'll hear what you're going to agree with him.
The rest of us.
Well, it's mind-boggling because you're operating in a system that doesn't believe that you should exist, and you're saying to yourself, I guess I shouldn't. I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, but it's crazy. So can we just gossip a little bit? Mm-hmm. Did you ever know anyone? Were there stories about him and call boys and hookers or any of that?
No. I mean, look, I'm just enough people that I've been around. It's just that it was kind of like accepted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, it's not just look.
Who else?
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna like.
Who else?
I'm already in enough lawsuits, Don.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, who else? Allegedly, who else? I'm not going to do this.
Can you give me initials?
I'm not doing it. You give me. You know as well as I do. I mean, are you asking me if Josh Hawley's gay?
Yes.
Are you asking me if Stephen Miller's gay?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know.
Okay, let me tell you this.
Are you asking me if Speaker Johnson's gay?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. Yeah. So
yeah. So let me just
give me another minute, and I come up with 6 more names.
I love that. Personally, I don't know. Personally, he doesn't know.
I don't know. Were you asking me? And it's just funny that like they were very
that's called the cavuto.
Choices.
That's called the cavuto, by the way. I don't know if you know this from back from Daily Show. I'm not saying your mother's a whore. I'm simply suggesting that anybody who's seen your mother walk the streets, asking for money, might think that she's a whore.
Just asking questions.
I'm just asking questions here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I actually don't know if Stephen Miller is gay. He's not. There are certain people who are just asexual because they channel all their like I've seen people like this in politics a lot. Again, people who, and please, we've all gone through stages in school where we were popular, and unpopular, right? I had both, right? There are times when I had a raging social life, and there were times when I had no friends. So I will be the first to say that I was speaking to my no friends days, right? Like, he is the kind of guy who had no friends in school and channeled all of his sexual energy that people channeled in high school to try to get to hook up.
Mm-hmm. He
channeled it towards wearing a suit and tie to school with a little briefcase, his suitcase, and sitting at home plotting for the day that he was going to stick it to all these people who look down on him.
Listen, he was part of the whole pushback for remember the Duke lacrosse players situation, which ended up being,
a debacle.
It was a total debacle. who was on the side of the lacrosse players was Stephen Miller, and he was going out and giving interviews on their behalf. And he was also very good friends with known white supremacist Richard Spencer. Remember him?
Yeah, of course.
Who's now like, I don't like, I saw something about him the other day, a tweet, and I was like, is this the same guy?
Well, my
And
friend,
he was
my,
like,
my friend Karen Dunn sued him into bankruptcy, so that's why he's.
oh well,
really, yeah.
there you go. And then he went on to go work for Jeff Sessions, who then became Attorney General. Like, this is how Stephen Miller got into our orbit, was via Jeff Sessions, that little Keebler racist. He was like the OG Mike Johnson. And like, listen, again, like I've seen, there's a stand-up comedian I've saw clips from who went to high school with Stephen Miller and said he was exactly the same person in high school, just a bully. He was mean. He was awful to everyone.
Who was this?
Stephen Miller.
Stephen Miller, yeah. Well, because Stephen Miller is, of course, because I don't know if he could bully anybody. He's a loser, so who's he going to bully? But I think he looked at, he was like, listen, again, when you have so much resentment and you have so much bitterness because you are not accepted and because the cool kids don't want to hang out with you, I think you have one of two ways you could go. One is to say, hey, it's just high school and I'm going to move on and make something of myself and you know, like find friends in college or find friends in the professional world and so on. That's the healthy thing to do. Or you are just, you know, like in some ways we are all who we were in high school, right? You're going to stew and stew and stew. And then you're going to say, like, vengeance will be mine and I'm going to go after these people. And those people were in Santa Monica. I'm sure people of color, even though Santa Monica's rich and predominantly white, but still you're in California. So there are people of color, the jocks, the liberal kids. Cause when he was coming up, like, you know, being liberal was a cool thing to be and not anymore. And, that's who he is. That's who he is. I think he's deeply ashamed of his religion. I think he wishes he were, you know, white evangelical Christian so that he could fully own what the rest of them own.
And to Cynthia Rice in the comment, she's saying Stephen Miller went to Michael Jackson's trial. I don't know that he did, but I definitely, I don't know if you mean Mike Lawler, who is the congressman in New York 17. His parents allowed him as a teenager to get on a plane by himself and fly to California and his best little Michael Jackson outfit.
I was mistakenly in Michael Jackson's trial. Did I tell you this? What? Randomly. When I say randomly, my best friend and I flew out to LA because we were like, we've never been to LA. Let's go. Or I'd been there. She'd never been there. So we're like, let's go. We rent a car. We drive up the coast of Santa Barbara. And as we're driving past the courthouse, and we get out, we park, we walk. And as we're like, what's this big crowd? What's going on? And it was literally like the Michael Jackson trial.
What?
We didn't go inside.
OMG.
We were like, what are we doing here?
I can't.
I had no clue.
With him either.
No clue. Yeah, another one. Yeah. And then I was also in London, and there's a massive pro-Michael around the same time when the trial was going on. There was a massive pro-Michael Jackson Piccadilly Circus protest where they were protesting the fact that anybody could think that Michael Jackson touched little kids in a.
All I'm going to say is during that whole thing, I, you know, as someone who danced growing up and like, you know, loved music, and I had to.
Now, see, this is a healthy attitude. This is a healthy attitude.
Yeah.
This is a healthy attitude. Yes, Julie Gumstricks again.
Which we haven't gotten a chance to do that yet, but we will.
Yeah, we're going to do that. So, you know, what can I say? It's just a, he's just a I mean, I hate to say this.
Look at him. Look at him.
Yeah.
And the thing is too, and I know there's a lot of comparisons to him and Joseph Goebbels, but I actually believe that he sees it in himself, and I think that he mimics a lot of his mannerisms. I think that he tries to rephrase a lot of Goebbels' language, translated into English, obviously. I think he likes it. I think he likes that people compare him to him, and there is a sinister deadness in the eyes of Stephen Miller, and the fact that he and his wife found each other. These two horrific people, and please, guys, if you got time, go find the story. There's a story written that Katie Miller's classmates growing up had a lot to say about her as well, growing up in Florida. It's just he's a person who's aligned with JD Vance, and I have to wonder, in a MAGA 2.0 America First movement, I don't know, like administration, if there was to be, a Tucker Carlson presidency, if there would be a place for Stephen Miller. I don't think there would be.
No, because he's Jewish.
Exactly.
And
which is the irony here.
And that's the biggest irony of all. At the end of the day, my man, they might come for you last, but they're still going to come for you.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they'll use you up until they got nothing left, and then you'll be nice.
And I would say that to about certain senators on the Democratic side as well.
Listen, I have been saying, first of all, just talking privately amongst my friends and family about Ukraine, about the domino effect that's going on around the world, and a lead up to perhaps a world conflict. Talking about what's happening in the Democratic Party as a lifelong Democrat and liberal, talking about how I'm afraid that we're going to have America's first horseshoe president in 2028. I don't even think 2026 is a foregone conclusion. So I had a friend text me this morning. He was like, "I'm worried about you. Like, you seem really down. Like, you seem really stressed out." And I was like, I guess I don't just the state of things. Like, you either deal with it or you don't. You either face the facts and the reality of the situation that you're living in, or you stick your head in the ground. I mean, you were talking with Olga today too about the AI bubble as well. Like, on top of all the other economic issues that we're dealing with in this country, having to do with the Strait of Hormuz and the price of gas and what's happening to farmers, and after USAID has been cut and defunded, we're dealing with an AI bubble. And because we have 10 companies that are holding up the entire US stock market, 7 of which are tech companies. And if you Google AI bubble right now, the top 20 stories have been written in the last 24 hours about how everyone is freaking out about this bubble. And, in addition to that, the United States, these American companies are, selling their models, which are the best models of AI, but the second best models are Chinese, and they're giving away for free, which is completely messing up their bottom line. And there's such a widespread domino effect that is going to come from this, from farmers to housing, and it's not good. So I don't know, you can either stick your head in the sand and pretend it's not happening, or you can prepare yourself for what could be to come. And that also includes, cyber attacks. Olga brought up today too. I'm so glad that she did, because there has been an uptick in cyber attacks in the last couple of weeks here in the United States. That was that the Iranians got into the water supply in, was it Milwaukee, Minnesota? It starts with an M, right? Julie?
It was in Minneapolis.
Minneapolis, sorry. M word. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So anyways,
Well,
stiff upper lip.
Yeah. Well, Elon Musk, tweeted out back in 2022, my pronouns are prosecute/Fauci. Mm-hmm. And Katie Miller retweeted and said banger.
Cool.
Yeah. This is at the same time. this is while, or just a little bit after, Fauci wrote, "I'm calling Katie frequently to check on her a couple of times per day. She's very anxious about getting very ill since she's 10 weeks pregnant." Now, if that was not a welcome call, Katie Miller should have just said, "You know what, Dr. Fauci, thank you for your call. I have it under control with my own doctors. Don't worry about it." But she didn't do that.
He's a very sensible guy who I don't think would be calling people, especially during a time like that things were literally on fire, to be making house calls to people and giving advice that was unwelcomed. And I'll say, and I know I texted this to you, I think last night or this morning, that in 2023, I went to go see Goodnight Oscar, which was a play with Sean Hayes on Broadway. And I went to go see it by myself, and I sat like in the third row. And I remember looking down the row and seeing Anthony Fauci. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God. And I wanted to run up to that man afterward and be like, thank you so much. Thank you for everything. But I was like, you know what? I don't want to scare him, because people probably shout at him and chase him and say the most horrific things to him imaginable. I don't want to like jump scare him. So I'm not going to do that. But like, it's a good friend of mine's mother was a healthcare worker, passed away from cancer during the pandemic. And she was instrumental in the HIV and AIDS response in New Haven, Connecticut. And New Haven was given a big chunk of money to basically deal with the epidemic in the area. And she did something that was very controversial at the time. She took half of it, because she was responsible for the allocation of the funds, half of it towards, direct to patient, I don't know if it was just like covering bill, like it was directly to the patient. The other half of the money she gave to the community to reinvest into the community, because she knew how important that was for long-term investment, right, into the health of the people who lived there. It was very controversial at the time, but data and statistics and everything else have proven that she made the right choice, and that it has had generational effects, long-time generational effects on that community. And when my friend's mother passed away and they had to have the memorial outside in a park during COVID, is a very good friend of mine, Dr. Fauci wrote a letter for my friend to read aloud, thanking her. And she was a nurse. She was a healthcare worker in New Haven, thanking her for everything that she did. And, you just have to think back to what everybody was dealing with then, and the amount of relationships and connections he made with people, not just here, but around the world, and the work that he's done. And it is just absolutely criminal, the way that this country has turned on this hero of a man. It's disgusting, especially from you, Katie Miller.
Amen. Amen. You guys, we are, it's just been a weird summer, hasn't it, Michelle?
Yeah, I feel off.
It's been a weird summer.
Off.
It's been, I mean, that summer's, 2/3 over. So let's hope for the last.
Stop saying that.
Yeah. Well, let's hope for August to be good. But, I gotta say, it's just what's happening on the right is like you're being. I don't know. I just look. I see people like Roy Cooper who are up double digits over their Republican. I see people like John Ossoff being up double digits over their Republican opponents. I see John Turek being up by 4 in Iowa over his Republican opponent. That's crazy train in Iowa. We haven't had a Democrat in Iowa in years.
Your friend Sherrod Brown, I think, is doing pretty well.
Sherrod Brown is up in Ohio, my friend. Sherrod Brown in Ohio up. Like, these are good normie Democrats that are focusing on bread and butter kitchen table issues.
Yep, stuff that matters to people.
Stuff that matters, right? And yet all we're seeing from terminal people online is what Zohran Mamdani is doing in New York who, P.S., is the mayor of a really overwhelmingly Democratic city.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did you guys think he was ever going to lose, or anybody who the D after their name was ever going to lose to the clown who he ran against last time?
Right.
Come on. I know that clown. He was not going to run, he was never going to be mayor. And so, or to indict Eric Adams. I mean, come on. So,
right.
Like, I just, it's so dispiriting to me because I just I think the problem is that we spend so much time online and we spend so much time, and listen, who are we to talk? Like, we're online right now.
I know, right? Yeah.
But I just want people to just please go outside and touch grass with real voters. And in particular, go outside and touch grass with African-American voters. I'm telling you.
Oh my gosh, please.
I'm telling you, they don't give a rat's ass about AIPAC.
And they're fed up with this nonsense.
And they're fed up with this nonsense, which is why you have Haley Stevens, a white woman, winning overwhelmingly among Black voters in places like Detroit. Because nobody wants to hear this nonsense anymore.
Yeah.
Like, what are we in this for? We're in this to improve the quality of life for our neighbors, better healthcare, affordability, like cleaner air, all of that stuff. Most importantly, preserving our democracy.
Sorry, my cat.
Oh, preserving our democracy. And yet all I'm hearing online is like, well, blood money, AIPAC. Like, you guys, I said this on Olga's show. I'll say this till the cows come home. I can't stand AIPAC. I can't stand them.
But not everything in your life.
But not everything in my life is about AIPAC, for God's sake.
1% of defense.
It's not AIPAC. And I'm going to say this. I think Hassan Piker is the biggest piece of shit on earth for what he said about Ukraine. I am a Russian. Well, I'm not Russian anymore, but I was born in Russia. And I hope to God they have their asses handed to them like I've never wanted anything to happen before on the international stage. I've never set foot in Ukraine in my life. I want Ukraine to win against the country of my birth. Like, I want nothing else in the world. But friends, if that's all that I talked about as a candidate, I would lose.
Yep.
Because the reality is that real people with real concerns who worry about putting their kids through college, being able to afford to buy that Little League uniform, being able to put food on the table, being able to gas up their car, being able to afford that trip to the emergency room because their Obamacare subsidies are being cut. Remember those?
Yeah. Did you see the story about the hiker the other day who impaled himself, who hiked back down the mountain to go to the emergency room because he knew that he wouldn't be able to afford the airlift from the mountain that he was on.
I mean,
I was like, if that's not American healthcare in a nutshell, friends, I don't know what else is.
Friends.
Oh my God, Kat.
What I'm saying to you is, like, please, I know we always end up on this tangent and people get all mad at us and they unsubscribe and
bye-bye.
That's how you feel. Yeah, the hate comments, like, bye-bye. Because you're not living in the real world.
Someone called us authoritarians the other day.
Yes, we're authoritarians. Yes, okay. That's us. Yes, that's us. That's us. So I'm just, like, come on. Look at the people who actually know how to win elections. See if Roy Cooper's talking about this stuff. See if Sherrod Brown's talking about this stuff. See if John Ossoff is talking about this stuff. No, you have a bunch of DSA people. I get emails from the Justice Democrats every single day. Julie, stop AIPAC. Julie, stop AIPAC. I don't like AIPAC. I don't like them. They suck. They are responsible for electing several people who I think are going to be really bad for their own cause, by the way.
But I think that's their point.
And maybe that's their point, because I firmly believe that AIPAC is, in our, they want Democrats to turn on, they want Jewish Democrats to turn on.
It's already happening.
Yeah, it's happening. So mission accomplished, all the Trump donors who run AIPAC. Congratulations. But friends, I'm telling you right now, if I walked out of this Airbnb in, I think, in New York, and I found like the people who are waiting tables at the restaurant where I am, who are not college students because they're terminally online also. But if I found, if I went down to the Walmart down the road here, I think there's probably one somewhere, and I asked your typical, person working the cash register, what are you worried about? Wouldn't even be in the top 10. Wouldn't even be in the top 10. You know what they're worried about? That they work their asses off for an 8-hour shift at Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
They still have to work a second job because they still can't afford to live and get by.
Yep.
That's what they're worried about.
Mm-hmm.
That Donald Trump is making it harder for them because potentially Walmart is not supplying them with healthcare to be on Obamacare, cutting their subsidies. So now they don't have healthcare.
Even
and the average American doesn't have $400 in their checking account for medical expenses, for a medical emergency.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they'd be worried about. You think they care what happens 6,000 miles away? I get that this is a moral issue for a lot of people. I get it. I think Ukraine is a massive moral issue as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think what is happening in what the UAE is doing in places like Darfur is a really huge moral issue. Like, all of it is a big moral issue. But I'm telling you, that's because I have the luxury of sitting here talking to you all day, every day, or writing about this stuff all day, every day.
Yep.
Average person doesn't. So please consider that when you vote, who is going to be the more electable person to stop Republicans?
Mm-hmm.
Because I swear to God, if you don't, John Thune is going to be the majority leader, and they're going to put another, mark my words, there's going to be another 2 retirements before the end of Trump's term.
Yeah, I was going to say at least 2.
And they're going to replace them
with
50-year-old versions of Sam Alito. 45-year-old versions of Clarence Thomas. They have it all.
They're going to be little JD Vances.
They're going to be 45-year-old versions lined up.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, if you're concerned about what's happening in the Middle East, you're going to see every single Palestinian expelled from the West Bank, because these are the people that are going to allow Benjamin Netanyahu's insanely crazy coalition to keep doing what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's if this is your issue. If this is your issue and you give a shit, that's what's happening. Now, apparently, since we've been on, breaking news, there's apparently some sort of deal between Hamas and Israel. If it holds, we'll see. I mean, I don't know if I believe it.
What do we think about
but
that?
Apparently, yes, but apparently it is, Hamas disarms and yada, yada, and Israel agrees not to attack anybody in Gaza anymore. Sure, Jan. Okay, sure, Jan. But
at least, I mean.
No, okay, fine, whatever. The point is, if you give a shit about this stuff, you do not want these people in charge.
No.
Like, you just don't want these people in charge. And if you don't think that Bernie Sanders is doing all of this because Bernie Sanders wants to be the kingmaker in a Democratic caucus, where he just admitted yesterday, don't ask me about the Democratic Party. I'm not a Democrat, despite running twice in the Democratic primary.
I can't stand it.
Right?
I really can't.
So I just, again, I don't want to belabor all of this. And I know we keep getting hate mail about this stuff, and we keep bringing it up, and I bring it up and Michelle brings it up because we love this party, but more relevantly, and we think this party is failing us largely. And, believe me, I'm not sitting here defending Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. I think everybody's clear on that.
Hell no.
But listen, the alternative is this shit. And for everybody's like, well, yes, what do we get? We'll get more Obamas, we'll get more Bidens if we don't stand up. Yeah, they won. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
They won.
Mm-hmm.
Guess who didn't win? Bernie Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason
There's a
for
reason
that.
why Bernie Sanders is very angry that South Carolina is about to be the first state in the primaries.
Because black people stopped him.
Because black people didn't vote for him and that don't like him. And therefore, he doesn't want the primary to be starting there. He wants it in different places like New Hampshire and Iowa.
Hey, cat mom, Julia Netanyahu's horrible and causing problems for my Jewish friends. Young Jewish people are on Gaza's side. Yeah. This middle-aged Jewish person thinks Netanyahu sucks too. I cannot wait for the day that he is out of office.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot wait for that to happen, much like I can't wait for Donald Trump to be out of office. Can't wait. Can't wait.
I hope they drag him to The Hague.
Can't wait for Hamas to be out of Gaza so these people have a fighting chance.
That's the other, I mean, I think that's the other thing that just makes me most angry about all of this is that is always conveniently left out. And they have been painted into this, you know, resistance paramilitary group or something like this. And I'm like, no, it's a terrorist organization.
Okay.
Terrorist
By the
organization.
way, my liberal gay friends or women for that matter, if you think they're a resistance organization, take a ride over there. Let's assume the day the bombs stop, right? Let's say the ceasefire holds.
Yep.
Go to Gaza, dressed just the way Michelle and I are dressed right now, as a woman, put on your tank top.
Yeah. Show your shoulders.
Wave your pride flag and see what happens to you. They are
Hamas bad.
They are a terrorist, murderous, extremist organization that does more harm to their people than you can possibly imagine.
On purpose.
On purpose. And if you are in the opposition, they will take you and throw you off a rooftop, which is what they did to supporters of the Palestinian Liberation Organization. Not Jews, Palestinians. And if you are gay and you live in Gaza City, or you did before this all began, you would prefer to live in Tel Aviv. Probably you would prefer to live neither in Tel Aviv nor in Gaza, because you might not feel comfortable living in Israel. Not as a gay person, Israel is really gay friendly, but you probably would prefer to go elsewhere. But if you had to choose, there's one place you could live openly and one place where you couldn't. So again, you guys, what I'm saying is, like, why are we belaboring this nonsense? It's not nonsense in the sense of this is, I understand that people feel very strongly about this, but do you not get that there's a reason why we're tearing ourselves apart over this? Do you not get who that benefits? Do you not think that potentially all the stuff that you're seeing online, the algorithm, all of that is being fed by people who'd rather us focus on this and other things?
Absolutely. It's a disproportionate amount of attention being, pointed in the direction of something that's very convenient for the other people who were doing really bad things. Hello, Maggie.
Maggie's been sleeping, so she's been a very good girl, but now she's woken up and is ready to terrorize this poor Airbnb some more. My son now does the whole Lion King thing with her. He's like, da, 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 da. Hi, little Maggie Dottie, my good girl. And Maggie agrees with me. So there you go. Actually, Maggie doesn't agree with me at all. Maggie growls all the time and bites me all the time.
Aww,
but yeah.
Such a good girl, though.
She's not a good girl. She's a terrorist. She's a little monster, but she's very cute. Yes, Maggie Mayday makes a second appearance. My good girl. My good
Soon
girl.
enough, Maggie will, she'll come down from puppyland,
Yes, Maggie, who was pitched to me as a miniature dachshund, is growing so fast that the vet was like, I'm not sure how long she's going to be miniature for. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, the second time I saw her, I was like, this is a significantly bigger dog than
she has now exceeded both her mother and her father's size and weight, and she's got a lot more growing to do.
Oh, is she a big girl?
She's going to be a big girl.
This cat has been trying to cross. Has been trying to walk across my he's very hungry.
Oh, in addition to all of this, because I've been away all week, Michelle, I've had to call my husband so he could put Hagrid, my other dog, on the phone, because Hagrid has been apparently so depressed that we're gone that he's not eating and he's not
oh my
really
God,
doing
Hagrid.
anything. So
Hagrid
I now
is so emotional. He's so
Hagrid's very emotional, whereas Maggie will be like,
he's like, where am I at now, bitch?
Yeah, Maggie's like, whatever, like I'll go anywhere. Hagrid's got a lot. Yeah, Hagrid's like a perpetual teenager. But so Hagrid, I have to now get on the phone with Hagrid, where my husband puts him on speaker, and I have to tell him how much I love him. And the first day he was very excited and wagged his tail. By yesterday, apparently he was so disgusted that I hadn't come back yet that my husband said he just turned away from the phone.
Oh no.
So I went like this.
fantastic.
I know, my sweet little Hagrid, my good boy. Even this little girl is not around to terrorize him.
Johnny's asking, is Lieutenant Colonel Urso coming back to the show?
Oh my God!
Yes. We actually were texting with her the other day because she just got to DC because she's going to school at Georgetown. So she's getting herself settled in to her new apartment and unpacking and doing all that. And obviously there is a lot to talk about with her, you know, in terms of what's going on in the world. So
yeah, and friends, you know, I know that Michelle and I promised that we're going to do Mayday Gump. So should we just pick a time, like Monday?
Yeah, I think after the weekend would be good.
Yeah, after the weekend. So maybe early next week, bring your best Mayday Gump stories, like any crazy celebrity funny sightings, because I'm not the only one who ends up mistakenly showing up at Michael Jackson's trial. Still say the most awesome celebrity sighting of my life was seeing Carrot Top on the street. I will stand by it.
Was this before facelift or after facelift?
Hard to say. I just noticed the hair, so I didn't really notice the face. I think it was after facelift and lots of like got very bulky. It's a gump dump. Yes, Rosie.
I like gump dump. That's funny.
Yeah, Shalana, what is gump? Well, for people who don't know, or might be just joining us for the first time, I have these crazy stories where like I run into celebrities, like Forrest Gump, like I end up in weirdo celebrity situations where I'm like, why am I here in the middle of like random celebrities? So Michelle too has some of these. So
I do. My husband yells at me though, because he tells me I'm name dropping. I was like, I'm not name dropping. I'm just like literally telling a story about this thing that happened to me. So like, I'm always very apprehensive to share these stories because
it's not name dropping.
He yells.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really? You think me running into Tony Danza's name dropping?
I don't know. You know, it's funny.
I'll see you, Carrot Top, and I'll raise you Tony Danza. How about that?
Oh, there's Jacqueline. Jacqueline's in the chat.
Hi, Jacqueline.
But like, and I'll just really quick say that like, you know, one of my group of friends when I first moved to New York, they were all kid actors, right? When they were young and they all went to school together. All went to PCS, the Professional Children's School. And so in our 20s, like, you know, I was kind of sort of on the outside of that friend group and we hung out, like went to the same bars and stuff. And I would talk about some of these people for the longest time. And Joe would just be like roll his eyes. He's like, okay, Michelle. And then one of them got married and I brought Joe to the wedding. And some of the, you know, famous people like came up, they're like, Michelle, I hope you're not still mad at me about blah, 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 blah. And I was like, man.
Is this your little Home Alone adjacent story?
A little bit. And
we'll talk about that.
And yeah, I didn't want to give it all away, but like Joe looked at me and he was like, all right. I told you. I wasn't making it up.
You know? Well, so anyway, but we are positive that people in this chat who watch Mayday and on Substack probably also have a bunch of really funny celebrity stories that we could all share in the privacy of our little chats here. So if you are a paid subscriber to Mayday, please come join our Mayday Gump story time. So we could all trade stories with each other.
Over on Substack, right?
Over on Substack. And if you are not a paid subscriber to Mayday on Substack, you might consider becoming one so you can join our story. You only have Shalana, you only have Joe Walsh, like Joe Walsh from the Eagles or Joe Walsh from from our Joe Walsh from Congress.
Former Republican
Joe Walsh.
Who crashed out during the Helsinki event.
Shalana, you only have a sort of Madonna. This is not this is a story I want to hear. Come over to our thing and talk about it. Our Joe Walsh. We'd love Joe Walsh. Well, maybe we'll have Joe Walsh come on this show. We'll have Joe Walsh participate. Maybe Joe Walsh will be our celebrity. I didn't know Joe Walsh was considered. Wait, are politicians like celebrities?
Yeah, to levels for sure.
Really? Oh, in that case, I got a bunch of really good stories.
Yeah.
I got a story about how Bill Clinton did not hit on me. Although, yes.
Where's this going?
No. I'm not. Nothing like that ever happened. But I'm just saying. No, please, no.
Okay.
It's a very funny story.
Listen, Barry Gordy told me he liked my shoes.
Really? That's not a political.
People don't know who Berry Gordy is. He is the inventor of Motown.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
He's like, he goes, nice shoes, girl. And I was like, thank you.
My dad saw OJ once. Now, if this were a Julie Gum story, I'd be like, I was on the 405 when I saw the OJ.
Right. Well, right. Katie Tur, by the way, people don't know this. Katie Tur's parents owned a helicopter and they had a media, pass, a press pass, and they were the first helicopter on the scene for the OJ Chase videos. How crazy is that?
Well, for all
Katie Tur was just a little girl at the time.
For all of my Canadian friends, when the OJ, how old were you when the OJ thing happened, Michelle?
6th grade.
Okay. Well, I was in grad school.
12. I was 12. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was
almost 12.
That was, oh, wait a second.
Or no,
that was 94. Yes.
Yeah,
I was 21. I was 21. So I was not in grad school yet, but I was 21 and I was living in Boston for the summer because I was my last year of college and my first year of grad school. I had to combine. So I had to take a lot of summer classes. I was in Boston and I was with my friend, John, who was my roommate at the time because I was broke and I needed a roommate for my studio apartment. He slept on the floor. I slept in the bed. That's how broke I was. And it was a really hot summer in Boston, super, super, super hot. And we're like, holy shit, we have to get out of here. And then, of course, because we're idiots, we're like, let's go to Canada because it's so cold up there because it's Canada.
I don't know why you would think that.
I don't know why we think
it's pretty hot.
I know. Well, I don't know why we're idiots.
And
we're
also not that far from Boston.
Exactly. But anyway, we're like idiots. So we're like, all right, let's go to Montreal. So we go to Montreal and we're driving to Montreal. And back then, of course, you only had the radio you could tune into, like on the AM station. And we're listening to the radio. And then, of course, like the New York, we went through New York State, wherever we went through, Vermont, I think. The radio turns to French Canadian radio.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm listening to this. And I turned to him in French and I turned to him and I said, and by the way, the French Canadian accent is very, very, very different from French accent.
The Quebecois.
The Quebecois accent. So I turned to my friend John and I said, I think they're saying that O.J. Simpson is in a car chase on the 405, in LA, on some freeway in LA, like in a car going down a highway, and there's a car chase.
It was at night.
No, it was during the day. It was during the day.
Because they broke into the NBA finals. It was this day. I mean, there's a whole 30 about it.
I think it was during the day. I don't remember, but it was during anyway, it doesn't matter. And he goes, well, the chase lasted a long time. It lasted for hours.
Yeah.
But I think in the beginning it was at night.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And he looks at me and he goes, "You are so full of shit. You don't speak French." And I said, "No, I swear to God, I do speak French. And I think this is what they're saying." And he's like, he would not believe me. He's like, "All right, you're totally making this up." He's like, "O.J. Simpson, what are you talking about?" I stand vindicated, but more relevantly, so I'll never forget that because I was like, "You're so full of shit. O.J. Simpson's in a car chase going down a highway in California? I don't think so." Because we forget, because we love, because OJ was, the juice.
He was he was beloved. He did the Naked Gun movies. He was, he was Mr. There was no OJ, like bad OJ before then. You know what I mean? There just wasn't one.
OJ, and he was good looking and he was charismatic. Remember the Hertz commercials?
Oh yeah.
OJ, I know. So yeah, the juice was loose.
I always, there were 2 people that were killed, and I always feel like we focus on one, and that poor young man died as well. And, it's the whole thing's just so terrible.
To his family's credit, they have never, ever, the Goldmans have never let anybody forget about Ron Goldman.
Yeah.
Ever. So I know. And what's fascinating is that Robert Kardashian, the start of the celebrity.
I mean, just crazy. The whole, listen, the origin stories of all the people that we had to deal with in the 2000s and 2010s, Kim Kardashian and her sex tape. And then she was Paris Hilton's assistant before she was who she is. She was organizing Paris Hilton's closet. And and the only reason that we know about them is because of the dad and the OJ, and then her mom remarried to Kris Jenner, you know?
No,
Or not Kris Jenner, not Kris Jenner, Bruce Jenner.
At the time he was Bruce Jenner, yeah.
Yeah.
And she was best friends with Nicole Brown Simpson.
Right.
And I think that created tension between her and her ex-husband, Robert Kardashian. But yes, OJ was in the Naked Gun movies. And if you saw the new Naked Gun movie, did you see the new Naked Gun movie with Liam Neeson? It's okay.
The new one.
They did a remake of the Naked Gun last year.
Why would you make a new one when the old ones are so good?
I know. Well, they rebooted the franchise and it did really well with Pamela Anderson and Liam Neeson plays Leslie Nielsen's son. I don't think Leslie Nielsen is well cast. I don't think that Liam Neeson is well cast in this movie. It was pretty good. It was okay. The first time I saw it, I liked it. The second time I saw it on the plane to Japan, and I didn't think it was that funny. So then I watched the first Naked Gun on the plane also, because they had all the Naked Guns. And the first one was just the real one. It was so good. But there's a funny OJ. They allude to OJ in the remake of the Naked Gun, which is pretty
God, really?
Yeah, they do in a kind of funny way. But yeah, Naked Gun was an amazing classic, as was Airplane. Another
love Airplane.
Airplane was great with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And June Cleaver talking jive. They would never be able to make that movie now.
Oh my God, no! You couldn't make Blazing Saddles now.
Oh, Blazing Saddles definitely couldn't make.
I mean, you could never make that.
Never make Blazing Saddles, but they could never make Airplane now. Are you kidding? Ever? I don't think they could make Wedding Crashers now.
No, definitely not.
Yeah,
it's a very misogynistic film. Yeah, I don't think you could make 40-Year-Old Virgin. I mean, honestly, I
didn't love 40-Year-Old Virgin.
I did. That was nice. I didn't like Knocked Up as much. I thought Knocked Up was kind of.
I did not like Knocked Up at all, but I thought
it was super sexist.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like Knocked Up at all either. And by the way, she's vindicated. She was right about that.
Katherine Heigl?
Yeah.
Of course.
Katherine Heigl got totally.
She got blacklisted after that.
Blacklisted that, and I think she pissed off Shonda Rhimes because she wanted to be written off of Grey's Anatomy.
Well, I mean, for good reason, I think. Wasn't it because that one guy was awful? The guy who played Dr. Burke? He was super homophobic.
Did not watch that show at all.
Well, the guy who played Dr. Burke was super homophobic, and so it was her and the guy who played George, whose name is escaping me at the moment. They both wanted to leave the show, and they left around the same time because they were it was such a toxic set because of him.
Yeah, my son is really into it. He's been watching Grey's Anatomy.
Listen, there is nothing that slaps quite like the first few seasons of Grey's Anatomy. The first few seasons of Grey's Anatomy are so good. The fact that the show's still on, I'm is kind of comical to me, because I'm yeah, I think so. I was how many more horrible things can happen to these people? There's a plane crash, there's a shooting, there's a fire, please. But
that show is still on?
I think so, yeah.
How
at least it was as to ago. They're on season 30 or something crazy. I mean, it's nuts. But the first few seasons with Patrick Dempsey and it was so good. It was so good. Man, that show had me in a chokehold.
He's also super making me watch it with him. Super into Law and Order, but only SVU.
SVU is really good.
And I'm okay, how many versions of this guy molested little kids? This woman
it's all stuff pulled from the headlines.
I know, but it's mix it up with a little murder or something in here. But
well, SVU though is
I know specifically I know, which is why I can take SVU in small doses, whereas I can take the real Law and Order 24/7, because the real Law and Order at least mixes it up. The storylines are it's not always about. But he refuses to watch the old Law.
And we love Chris Maloney, obviously. He's on SVU though, right?
Who's Benson and what's the Stabler?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we love the old Law and Order.
Yeah.
What's his name was on?
Jerry Orbach.
Yeah. Jerry Orbach. Well, no, not just Jerry Orbach from Dirty Dancing, of course, and also from,
I think of Jerry Orbach from Broadway.
Oh, really? I think of him as the father from.
Yeah, there's a street. What's it there? Jerry Orbach.
Yeah, Broadway. Yeah. But I think of him from. Beauty and the Beast, and I think of him from he's baby's
guest.
Yeah, he's baby's dad.
Do you remember the subways? It was right after Jerry Orbach died, and he had like donated like his corneas or something, and there was like an ad about organ donation, and it was like a picture of Jerry Orbach in the ad, and then it was like something he donated his eyes or something, and I remember being like so scared. It was like so scary to me, like the ad itself. I mean, a beautiful thing that he did, right? But like the ad itself, the delivery was not good, and it was like in every single subway car, and it freaked me out. Freaked me out. I was like, I don't want to think about it. Love Jerry Orbach. He's such a sweet man. In the original cast of Chicago.
Was he really?
Mm-hmm.
Who'd he play?
Billy.
He did?
Yeah.
He was
Listen to the original cast with Cheetah Rivera.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Oh, I didn't know that.
Give us the old razzle dazzle. Yeah.
I didn't know that's him. Wow. I love Chicago. I know it's like been around for 100 years, longer than Grey's Anatomy even.
Mm-hmm.
But
I know somebody who's in it now.
I think
it employs a lot of people.
I think it's been around for so long that I'm surprised you and I haven't been in it by now.
I know, honestly, at this point.
It's been on Broadway for so long.
Yeah.
Okay. We are going to, Ms. Banks, it'll take some trigger for me to even remember my crazy stories. All right. We got to hear everybody's crazy Mayday Gump stories. So we're going to have Mayday Gump Hour. If you are not a subscriber to Mayday, a paid subscriber to Mayday on Substack, please subscribe. We really, really, really would appreciate it. And in the meantime, we will see you tomorrow, I believe, for I think a pre-recorded. We have to get together on that, Michelle, because I have to.
I didn't know that we were doing that.
Yeah, if possible. I was going to reach out because I have to get out of this Airbnb, so I can't do it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Depends, and we'll talk in the car.
Okay, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. If we're not going to see you tomorrow because of scheduling, the schedule that doesn't work. Michelle is off on Saturday. She's got some stuff she's got to do, but Dana, Lawrence, and a potential special guest is going to be joining us on Saturday for Saturdays for Sanity. And then I have got to be in Vegas for part of next week because nothing like Vegas in August. It'll make Montreal during the OJ chase look practically like Antarctica. But we'll see you guys definitely on Saturday. I'm not sure about tomorrow. And otherwise, have a great rest of your day. And that's it. Bye, everyone.
That's it, folks.
Bye.
Bye.